All right. Thanks everyone for starting your morning off with us. We've got Travis here, who's the CEO of FlexPoint. I'm Ben. I head up the partnerships over at Seller Candy and excited to kind of come to you guys today with this joint webinar. It's actually the first one I've done in a little bit of time here. I'm going to be leading off by talking about, my topic is crafting your Amazon Dream Team for lightning fast solutions. So this is a guide to take back control of your business. It's going to be a pretty fast run through of this, but we've got a framework really that's going to be a takeaway you can take right now and actually implement in your business today, but also lead you into the process of finding and figuring out what to actually go and delegate to that team that you're looking to build. So I'll give you a couple tips here. With that being said, real quick, if you don't know who Seller Candy is, I'll give you a very fast, the elevator kind of spiel of what we do. We act as the expert Amazon operations arm of your business. We pretty much claim that we're going to help you so that you can never talk to seller support again. We know that is a bold claim, and we really aim and strive to do that. We've got about 70 agents on our team that help make that a reality. And we pretty much support you with just about anything that's going to happen in your Amazon business. Besides PPC, we don't do advertising, but all the other components. And mainly that entails dealing with problems that come up. Yes, this photo is AI generated. I feel like it's not a proper webinar in 2023 if I don't use the word AI and have something in here AI. So this is the only piece of my presentation involving AI. But real quick, why should you listen to me? I've been in the Amazon space for about 6 years. I personally have been a seller. I've worked at an agency. I've managed brands that are doing, 500,000 and up a month. And I personally helped review and work and coach 200 plus brands that are at all different stages of the Amazon journey. So I've seen a bunch of different stuff. I've seen a lot of problems, headaches, and I always joke I need an Amazon therapist on calls with me. So what we're going to go over today. So we're going to talk first about the exact framework that our team uses to actually solve the day-to-day operational issues. It's a framework, again, you can take and either hand off to your team or implement yourself. We're going to do a live demo of essentially how that framework actually is deployed. And then we're going to move on to talking about some other exciting stuff. So how to leverage an expert team to create some time and space in your business to expand and scale your revenue, how that team can actually help you get out of the trenches and actually reposition yourself as the owner of your business rather than the operator. And then last few, we're also going to talk about how you are able to identify exactly which things to actually go and delegate or outsource to your team. And we do have an offer as well at the end. This is the best offer that we've had all year. So stick around for that as well. So without further ado, let's dive into part one here. So framework for solving Seller Central issues. Why do I like to start here? Because even if you go build an expert team, it doesn't matter who you get on your team. You're still going to need to have frameworks and systems and SOPs in place. And part of that is having everyone on the same page about how to deal with Amazon issues. This is the exact same framework that we actually deploy with our team. And it's a very high level framework that might be simple in practice or in principle, but it is something that when you deploy it in practice can save you hours and hours of time. So quick example here. We've got Mr. Bezos, and unfortunately, he's just told you you've got a performance notification and it is a suspended listing. So this is a quick example of how our team would work about this issue. So there's really 4 steps. The first one is going to be to stop and assess. So gather all of the information that you can. Now, I know I'm using the suspended listing example. This could obviously pertain to anything else that you're facing, but you need to stop, take a breath. I know it can be scary if you've got like only a couple SKUs or maybe your main seller that just got taken down, or it's, the holidays and you're freaking out because this is potentially a lot of money. Stop for a second and gather everything that you have. So if you have any performance notifications, get those, read through them, comb through them. If you have any other things, for example, you are going to want to gather your flat files. All the things that you're going to need to now move on and get this resolved as quickly as possible. We'll cover a couple of those in a second. One call out here I like to say is that you should always have a category listing report downloaded and hopefully updated. If you don't know what this is, it's something that you can get in your Seller Central account through the reports section. It used to be by request only that they would enable it, but now it's actually readily available. And essentially this will export a Excel or CSV file of all of your product catalog details that are currently in Amazon. It's a really good place to start because a lot of issues are resolved with flat file uploads. So just a quick tip for those of you who might not have heard of that. So after we've stopped and assessed what's going on, the next step is going to be to start troubleshooting. Now, of course, this is going to depend on what the exact issue is. And Amazon is infamous for kind of telling us what's going on, but not telling us the exact problem, right? So some of the troubleshooting steps, and this is where it's going to be helpful to have an expert on your team. But a couple examples here. If you have received a product policy violation, troubleshooting might look like sanitizing the listing. So that's going through and actually stripping your entire listing down to the basics, and then really adding keywords and words and phrases and bullets back in slowly to figure out what has caused that listing takedown to come through, the product policy violation. Authenticity, you're going to want to have those or the invoices uploaded and annotated to the account health dashboard. Remember, you got someone on the other end that's processing probably thousands of these a week. So you need to call things out very, very specifically. I like to highlight them in red or put big red arrows to show all the information that they're going to ask for. IP violation, you might need to reach out to the brand owner. Product safety issue, prepare a plan of action to appeal. Hazmat, check for hazardous ingredients, prepare SDS or SDS exemption. These are just a couple examples, but we've assessed. Now we're going to start that troubleshooting step. And the reason we're going in this order is we don't want to start by calling seller support. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, that's going to be a waste of your time. So by doing this, we're starting to build a paper trail that we're going to use as we move through this. So the next step here, step 3, is to troubleshoot some more. So oftentimes you might upload that flat file to, let's say, make some updates to a listing that you're trying to get reinstated. And it might not work. It might get kicked back with errors, or maybe it goes through, but you're still seeing that those listings aren't getting updated. So you might need to upload it again to fix some of those errors, or, for example, do a full delete relist. Maybe Amazon kicks back your invoices and you did not annotate them or call out the right thing. So we're essentially going to have to kind of do additional troubleshooting in most scenarios here. Once you've done that, the next stage, this is where you're really going to put in the elbow grease, and that is to escalate. So we've already gone through the assess stage, troubleshoot some more. This is where we have to put in the time investment, and where we will start escalating things by opening a case. And then, most Amazon seller support cases are resolved through phone calls. So we will get on the phone and just be relentless about calling seller support. And, of course, there are certain places where you cannot call seller support, but we will try always to route the issue to the proper team member. And this is where you're going to want to be really persistent in following up. Now, I already mentioned it, but the reason that we do this is we're turning this process on its head. Because if you start off, and many of you probably listening or watching have had this experience, if you go immediately to the step of, hey, I got this performance notification, let me immediately go open a support ticket. The seller support staff are either going to push you through an automated sequence, give you a canned response, or they're going to just come back and tell you need to do one of a dozen different things. We do this because when we go and do assess, troubleshoot some more, and then escalate, we have that paper trail to actually give to them to say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Seller Support Rep, here's everything I've done. I received this notification. I've identified, for example, that my listing had these keywords in it. So I sanitized the listing by trying to upload these different batch IDs. I did a full delete relist and none of it's worked. I now need you to help get this reinstated, and it's urgent. And when we do that, we cut down on all of that other wasted back and forth time that we might have spent before. So this is the exact framework that we deploy with our team to kind of speed up and expedite this process. So some considerations here. Obviously, experience is a key part of resolving issues faster. You are either going to probably have to know this stuff yourself or get someone on your team that can know it. If you know what levers to pull, that is also going to really expedite this whole process, right? Amazon's constantly changing. So another thing, obviously, that everyone here is probably aware of, but you've got to have a team, or you yourself are going to be the person that's got to be on top of these things constantly. Ultimately, as you grow and scale, you can't do it all yourself. So that's probably why a lot of you are here watching this webinar today. I know I'm running through this fast, but I want to make sure I cover all of it. So let's dive into part 2. So now we're going to kind of move on to talking about how to actually go about identifying the key things to outsource or delegate to a team, and some of the do's and don'ts. So getting expert support without the drama. So some pitfalls to avoid if you're looking to hire your first person, or maybe you've gone through this a couple times. Hiring too late. I talk to probably 20, 30 sellers a week. Normally they come to me or our team when they've already got some kind of critical issue. Don't do that. If you have to and you're already there, then do it. But you normally want to try to plan ahead. Misunderstanding your business needs. you need to think about what kind of where your business is at right now and what kind of support do you need. Do you need an external partner? Do you need an in-house full-time staff member? Do you need a freelancer? There's a bunch of different things out there that you can use, or maybe it's just a software tool that you need to implement. And finally, clarity of what needs to be delegated and how to do so. So challenges with building the team. The biggest one that I found, and I've gone through this myself, but you are constantly asked for guidance. Oftentimes as business owners, we end up thinking that we're going to hire a team member and it's going to solve a million problems. In many cases, it ends up creating a second job for you. You constantly need to spend time upskilling or managing that person. That leads to micromanagement, also lack of transparency. If you're working with maybe, let's say, an individual freelancer, you may or may not always know what they're working on unless they are very, very good at communication, or you are. Ultimately, all of this stuff leads to wasted time, money, finding and hiring training, and hopefully you're not going to deal with this, but firing people and then starting over again. So this is just opportunity cost. We do not want that for you going into 2024. What it boils down to, really simple. You need experience and you need numbers. You need access to that larger team that, they're going to be experts. They're going to be on top of everything going on in kind of the Amazon space, and something that you can reasonably afford. And I like to say something that's going to also be there to scale and grow with you, right? The benefits, of course, redundancy. You don't have to rely on, let's say, one person. That one person might, an individual freelancer might be amazing at doing a handful of things, but if they are out sick or something happens, then, it's still going to come back on you. So having redundancy is important. Scalability, I already mentioned, and ultimately expertise as well. So I already mentioned these. There's a bunch of different options: freelancers, in-house staff, agencies, combination of these. So how do you know which option's right for you, and how do you choose what to delegate? We're going to get to that right now in the third part of this. So this is what I like to call the Amazon Seller Central Gap Review. And this is the very timely part of this presentation, as we're, again, taking some time, hopefully, to reflect on how 2023 went and look forward to 2024. Setting aside some time to do a gap review is really an ideal thing. And this could be a 1 hour thing that you just set aside some time, grab a pen and paper or your laptop, and do it, as we're going through the holidays or at the start of the year. But what is a gap review? So a gap review is going to give you some clarity by evaluating where you're at right now. So all of the aspects of your Amazon presence, of course, this can extend beyond Amazon if you're also selling direct to consumer, retail, but we're going to keep it simple right now. So your Amazon presence, you're going to highlight all of the logical steps to actually smash your goals, revenue goals, but also your other business goals. It's going to give you some fresh perspective, hopefully take your emotions out of the situation so you can really look at and get a clear view at where your business is, and ultimately give you a really clear roadmap and a triage system so you know exactly where you should focus your time and what things you're going to have the biggest impact on, and what things you should immediately outsource or give to your team. So to break this down really quick, this can look like or you can look at a bunch of different elements of your business here. This might be things like your Seller Central backend, right? Your account health dashboard. This could be looking at your listings. This could be looking at your advertising campaigns. Are they working effectively? Are you maybe only selling in the US and there's an opportunity for you to start the NARF program, or to expand into some international marketplaces? Take a second and just literally bullet point, write all of these things down. All the things that went well, the things that maybe are bottlenecks or did not go so well, and maybe those opportunity areas in your business. Next, real quick, you're going to go through that list and identify the impact of each point. So each of the points, if you were to go and really implement a plan or a system, or put time and money into that to get it resolved, or to get it to where you have a great, let's say, advertising system built, or your logistics system or what have you, what would the impact of that be? So if addressed, give it a score of 1 to 10. How much of an impact would that make on your business? The other consideration here I just like to call out is think about the things you hate doing and those, of course, you like doing. And sometimes, the things that you hate doing might be the things that you can do better than anyone else. So that is important to note. But I always use the example, I hate anything related to accounting, bookkeeping, finance related stuff there. So that's something that I'm going to immediately outsource, or that's going to be on the top of my list to delegate to someone else on the team. So the goal of all this is to take the stress out of knowing what you should be working on versus what your team should be working on. So from there, I already mentioned this a little bit with the impact analysis, but we can essentially take that a step further to do a cost and time analysis. and ultimately evaluate how much time or effort it'll take to kind of go through and tackle each one of these things and check that against the impact. Obviously, it's not worth throwing, a lot of time, money, or resources at an issue that is really not a big deal. If you have that one SKU that's sitting in the back of your catalog, is a losing SKU, and you're like, I could optimize it, but it's not going to really move the needle. Probably a waste of time, right? So we want to look for those areas where we can go in there and really have a serious impact. And from that, we can then prioritize which ones we should do first or tackle first. So when we use this gap system, it's going to give us that fresh perspective. Again, we're checking our emotions at the door. So we're asking those hard questions, about our business. We're now going to have a list of all prioritized of all the steps we need to take to actually go and achieve those goals. And ultimately, that list is going to dictate what things we are going to choose to keep ourselves and to work on ourselves, and which things we can then go and hand off to our team. Ultimately, this is going to really be the thing that takes your business to the next level. And you should consistently do this, whether it's once a year or it is, once a quarter, whatever you feel comfortable doing. So with all of that being said, I mentioned at the beginning of this, we do have an offer from the Seller Candy team as well. So we, of course, do help tons of Amazon sellers. We've got now about 300 plus Amazon sellers. We have 70 or so agents on our team. A lot of them are ex-Amazon seller support. And so Seller Candy essentially is there to be that team for you if you're looking for experienced agents, former Amazon employees. And the nice thing about us is you're not going to have to be the one that has to go out and do the training, do the hiring, do the managing. You've got total transparency, redundancy, scalability, expertise. You're paying us to be the experts. And beyond that, we're also going to help you out with some of the reporting and some of the reimbursement things, should you like. It's getting complex. So everyone knows it, but it is tough to stay on top of it. If you're an individual business owner, it's challenging, even if you've got a small team. It seems like there's updates every single week. So there's a lot of information overwhelm. And having a team that is really on top of all these things is getting more and more important, whether it is Seller Candy or you get an agency out there to help with some of the PPC, or you get a different provider. There's really a big need for having an expert team there. So the offer that we have, this is the best offer of the year. We haven't run an offer like this before, but we wanted to do it since this is the first actually joint webinar that we've done for the year as well. So what we're going to do is essentially you're going to get access to our 70 plus agents. You can get a free account health check. So we're actually going to do or offer to help you do a gap review of your Amazon account and really go through some of the things that we've talked about in this. You're also going to get direct access to your chief delivery officer, Arvin. He's been in the Amazon space 6+ years, but he's going to be there to kind of be a resource for you. And I will also throw my hat in the equation. He is the technical guy, so he's got a wealth of knowledge. If you're having some kind of challenging issue, he is the man. But I will also be there to help you too. Beyond that, we're also going to give you guys your first $1,000 in FBA reimbursements for free. If you've never done any FBA reimbursement work, this is a really valuable offer and something you should 100% do. So we're going to give you that first $1,000 in free FBA reimbursements. And this is the best part of the deal is all this stuff. We're going to give you your first month with the Seller Candy team for just $100, which is a massive, massive discount. So this is over $1,200 in savings off of the Seller Candy subscription with us. So all you need to do if you're interested in this, go over to this QR code. You put in the Flex Black Friday is the coupon code, and that's how you're going to unlock that offer. So that is going to bring me to the end of the webinar here on my side. I'll go to the next slide here where you can still get the QR code for a sec, but I think I'm going to pause for a sec for the sake of time and just open it up to see if there are any questions or anything else that we should address. So Gab, Travis, I guess I'll ask you first. Do you have any questions from your side?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a question for you right out the gate. That headshot was amazing. What did you use to generate that headshot?
So there's this, it was actually, I highly recommend it. It's called Try It On Studios, I think. And it is like $20 and you get, I think about 200, you upload like maybe 10 different of your own real life headshots and you get, I think it's 200 actual AI images. And you can actually tell them like, hey, I want my eye color to be this, you can tell them what you want, which is pretty funny too. I'm trying to find it. Here we go.
Yeah,
I think it's loading again.
I'll tell you,
Highly recommend.
Yeah. I
Uh,
didn't see any. It looked like we might have had it pop up, but yeah, go ahead.
Gab, do we have any other questions? Anyone? I'm glad I am. If no one has any tough technical questions for me, that's a win, honestly. All right.
I saw a couple pop in here, and
Okay.
it looks
Yep.
like they're asking, can I access the content you guys provided on PDF? And then someone's asking about build monthly, cancel anytime, question mark.
Yep. So I'll answer both those. Luis, about the getting access to the content, and Travis, I'll let you also answer this. But yeah, I can send the slide deck that I have over. This webinar will be, it's recorded, so it will be accessible after this. I think probably within 24 hours, we'll probably have it up on YouTube, and it'll be sent out as well. So you can always watch the replay. Luis, if you want, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to, ben@sellercandy.com. I'm happy to send you the slide deck as well. And anonymous attendee, build monthly, cancel anytime. Yeah, we do a 30-day money back guarantee as well. So we're giving you a discount to $100. But yeah, with all of our subscriptions, it's essentially you can sign up and we'll do the first 30 days money back guarantee. And then, yeah, it is a month-to-month service. So essentially you can cancel at any time. We're very flexible, like a modern subscription style service. So yeah, I hope that answered that question. Luis, awesome. Chad, does this feature help with Amazon international marketplaces? Yeah, great question, Chad. We do support all marketplaces that Amazon sellers are in. And we have clients, I would say, probably in every single one of them. The only one that I'm thinking, I'm wondering if we don't, is South Africa, just because it just opened within the last couple of months. But yeah, this is going to work for all Amazon marketplaces. And I think that's it. Any other questions, guys? If not, if you think of anything, we can come back to them later on. All right. I think we're doing good on time. Travis, I'm going to turn it over to you, my friend. I think we're good.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's great to know you guys work on the international side too. I can see that being hugely beneficial.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Looks like we're good here. You guys can see my screen, it looks like. So I'll get kicked off. So yeah, thanks, Ben. Appreciate that. I learned a lot, no doubt, on that initial, kind of how to outsource like the customer service side. What I'll be talking about today is really talking about the automation of Amazon, mostly around the dropship side. You can apply it even if you don't dropship, maybe use a 3PL or some other kind of warehousing besides FBA. That's when you really get into kind of the automation needs. If you're just kind of putting things in FBA, it's a little bit different, but even when it comes to listing, there's some things in here that might apply. So so I'm going to dive into it and we'll get started. So who's this webinar for? I'll start with that. I have a slide here that I'll talk about, how not to drop ship. It's funny, I've done a similar presentation before and someone said, hey, on a call, it was actually a prospect who I was speaking with who was considering our software. He's like, I watched your presentation and a how to not drop ship slide was exactly what I was doing today. And I knew I should talk to you. So I always think it's funny to see, kind of who this might relate to. I know we have some customers. I can see some customers that of ours already on this webinar. So some of it might look familiar to kind of past lives. And then I'll walk through the 7 steps to true Amazon dropship automation. Like I said, a focus on dropship because that's really where we add a ton of value at FlexPoint. But I think a lot of this can apply even if you're not heavy in dropship today or just looking to dropship. And then we'll do a couple questions specifically for our part of the presentation at the end. Cool. So who is it for? This is for dropship online store owners or those considering dropship mostly. When you hear the word dropship, I'm not talking about the retail arbitrage, scraping retail websites and reselling those, or getting things from China where you don't have an actual relationship with a supplier. We're talking about typically where we help is for US based suppliers who have true wholesale relationships that those wholesale suppliers are willing to dropship for you. So that's most of the processes I'll be talking about are going to relate to that kind of business model. And on top of that, if you're also sourcing products from multiple locations and multiple different vendors, and really in that scenario where you might have the same exact product in your warehouse and a dropship location, or maybe you work with a distributor and a brand that carry the exact same product, you have access to fulfill or dropship from both of those, that's where the complexity really adds up and where you need automation. So, if you have a business like that, this is for you. And then lastly, just trying to seek to automate your Amazon business, right? Automating it is great for a lot of different reasons. One, you can focus on other more valuable parts of your business for your own time. If you're ever looking to sell your business, the more automated processes you have in place, increase the value of your business. So helps with exit value. So obviously, if you're interested in automating, you're probably joining this webinar. All right. So let's all start how to not drop ship, right? So this is typically how most people start drop shipping, and they realize really quickly how difficult it is and how many issues arise in trying to attempt to drop ship like this. And that's why you hear about these drop ship horror stories. People stop doing it. They say it doesn't work. It's dead in 2023. All that kind of stuff is because you try to do it like this because it's the easiest way to just get started without the software, without whatever it might be. So how it starts is first you talk to your supplier. You find a supplier, they agree to drop ship for you, right? Then you go and manually upload and add your products up to Amazon, right? They give you a file. They say, here's some images, whatever. You go and create it. You just tie into an existing ASIN or you create your new ASIN. And then you get an order. You get your first order. Awesome, from Amazon, right? And then you go, wow, okay, what do I do now? I have to go place this order with my supplier. So that means I need to call them. I need to email them. Maybe they have to log into their website and place the order, right? You get it at 3:00 in the morning. You wake up, you got to get your kid ready for school and you're having to go manually place this order. You start realizing like, wow, what if I get 10 of these a day, right? How do I manage this? And I need to make sure I'm doing it quickly, right? We all know about Amazon's SLA requirements. And then, so you place the order, which is great. And then now you're sitting there waiting patiently, or maybe not so patiently, for the shipment tracking, because that's the clock is ticking, right? The second that order comes in, the clock is ticking for Amazon, and you're waiting for an email. It goes to your spam. Maybe they're delayed on getting you the email because someone's manually accepted your order and sending you a tracking code, right? So hopefully you got a good supplier. They send it to you quickly. You get it, right? And then you go and you have to take that out of an email, out of a portal, however they provide it to you, and just go manually paste that into Amazon Seller Central, hopefully in time that you're not getting flagged for having a late shipped order, right? So as you can imagine, this does not work at scale. This is not how you drop ship, but it's amazing to me that almost everyone kind of starts like this. Not, a good percentage of people start like this and realize very quickly that they need to implement some kind of software to really scale their business. So what are the steps to full true dropship automation, especially when you're selling on Amazon, where it's so important to meet those SLAs and not get kicked off, get your account suspended? If it is suspended, it sounds like call the guys at Seller Candy and they can help you with that. But how do we get to the point to avoid that, obviously, right? And so there's 7 steps I'll walk through. I have 7 slides to kind of talk through, and it's really how I see people going from that first initial how to not drop ship slide and having those manual processes. I see them going down in this order, typically in the easiest way to get set up. So I'll start with email order routing, and just at least instead of manually placing it, how do you start with just automating the email out to your supplier to order that for you, that item for you once it's been ordered on Amazon. And then it's how do I start getting live inventory in and syncing with Amazon to make sure that I'm not selling something that's out of stock. Something that's even worse than being late on the shipment is not being able to ship it at all, right? Cancel orders will get you suspended really quick. And then, going from there, how do I start evolving more? Can I start integrating API, EDI? You might have heard these terms on ways to integrate your purchase order to your supplier, as well as getting the shipment. So, you can get 100 orders at 3 a.m. You can wake up, spend time, make breakfast for your kid, and not worry about having to get that information to your supplier or back to Amazon, right? That's kind of the first step of kind of the holy grail of like the simple automation, right? You get to that point. Then we get to more complex automation in step 4, where you start leveling up, right? How do I start routing orders optimizing based on location or cheapest vendor or preferred vendor? Go to my warehouse first. If it's not there, go to Amazon, or go to a supplier. So how do you start doing that? How do you level up and start saying, okay, I sell on Amazon, but I also sell on, so for one example, Amazon UK or Amazon US, right? How do I price it differently on those 2 platforms? Or how do I only list certain products on Amazon UK versus US? Other examples are I only list some products on my Shopify store versus Amazon. I'll talk about that. And then, one of the more difficult steps but is really the step to true automation, is getting the accounting in, where you can start getting the invoices from your supplier, understanding the costs from Amazon or the sales totals there, reconciling that, and then looking to optimize based on the profitability you're seeing across your sales channels and your different vendors and fulfillment locations. So those are the 7 steps. I'm going to go through each one, kind of talk through them. And the only way I know how, which is workflow diagrams. Any of our customers that are on here, I saw a couple pop in. They know we like workflow diagrams at FlexPoint to try to make sense of things. So email order routing, as I mentioned, right? You get an order from Amazon, you get that into some kind of e-commerce OMS middleware we have in the middle, right? In this example, that's what FlexPoint does. We're a middleware application, but we're also an OMS. We're actually almost a light PIM, if you will, for taking in product information from vendors and getting it up to your sales channels. But in general, it could be us, it could be anyone else, right? Especially for this step, there's a lot of like cheaper tools out there that just do this. I think Shopify even does it, but this is step 1, is if your supplier does allow you to allow you to send in orders to them with a PDF, a CSV, whatever it might be, of the actual order, and they give you an email address, this is a great first step. So you don't have to go wake up in the middle of the night, whatever, get started early, as I said, and go and manually place this order on your supplier store, or hire someone, right? Hire someone to fully do this for you full time. I've seen multiple customers who have 2 to 3 order management team members who all they do is go and place orders on the B2B portal or the front-facing website of their supplier. Some require it. It's hard to get around it, but there are options, and we continue to roll out more and more options to help make that easy for that relationship between the supplier and the retailer to automate that. But at minimum, if they allow an email into an inbox, which a lot of them do if they drop ship, this is step 1. So this will save you time, and it will reduce the amount of time and the risk that you won't get tracking back, or you won't get an order in. And then number 1, that you won't, they might be out of stock, right? So if you get an order at 9:00 at night, you're out, you don't see it, you don't have time to get to it the next morning, or it's a weekend, you're on vacation, whatever it might be. If you don't place that order ASAP with them, they might drop ship it, the last 5 items, to someone else, right? And then you're out of stock. Then you got to put a cancel to Amazon. So at minimum, this gets the order in quicker, so you don't have to cancel the order. And that's why it's step 1. It's so important to get that order as soon as you possibly can to the supplier. And it's also very, very easy to implement with a lot of different software out there. Now, what we also want to do to prevent canceling orders is to make sure when we're listing an item, it's in stock. So if you're working directly with a manufacturer that has, promised you that, they don't even have quantities, they don't even need to give you quantities, that, they're going to have it in stock if it's available on their website or whatever it might be. This might not be a big deal, but, that exact point, right? If they say it's on my website, it's available, right? Well, so you're not going to go check their website every day, right? So at minimum, a lot of these guys that do drop ship, they provide what's called an inventory or product data feed. One of those, like a feed file, essentially, right? If you use a system like FlexPoint, you could say they might not provide you that, but they're on a Shopify store or BigCommerce store, and you can easily just say, okay, well, let me just connect to that, and I'll just check if it's on your website every 5 minutes. It's as quick as you can do it with our system, or every hour, whatever you decide. But you can do that by just quickly connecting with our pre-built Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, or Magento connectors to connect to their store if they don't provide you a file. But say they do provide you a file and they're used to setting that up, it's typically a CSV file or an XLSX or a Google Sheet. If it's a CSV or something like that, they're going to host it on Dropbox or an FTP. You're going to sync that up. Once again, there's Shopify apps that do this very cheaply. That's one of the things we do. If it's all you need to do, there's stuff out there that does it. But there's going to be a lot of different requirements that you should be thinking about, and that you can't scale typically with a cheap Shopify app in a lot of scenarios. One thing is you'll have to realize that there's going to be a lot of different feeds that are provided from different vendors that some have headers, some don't have headers, some are UTF-8 versus UTF-16, some are our comma separated with or tab separated. So, you need to have a flexible tool that if you really want to make sure you can integrate any vendor, you don't want your software from holding you back and saying, I can't get this product data feed file or this inventory file in for vendor X, Y, or Z, so I can't sell their products, right? Because I don't want to be suspended on Amazon. So you need to use a system flexible enough like FlexPoint to bring in all these different types of files and get them up to your store. The other thing to think about that you're going to run into if you start with kind of a cheaper solution that's a point-to-point kind of app is that you can't really manage product overlap. And that's fine maybe for a lot of you guys. You work directly with brands and one brand sells, you work with Yeti and you only sell Yeti. You work at Nike, you only sell Nike, only sells Nike. But anytime, and when I say product overlap, what that means is anytime you have multiple fulfillment sources that could sell the exact same product, right? I mean, Nike is not going to sell Yeti, but I don't know, maybe they do. Maybe they do a collaboration where they have a Nike Yeti cup, and that exact product is available on Nike's website and Yeti's website, right? And you want to be able to sell all of those, and you also want to be able to fulfill them from each one of those warehouses, Yeti's warehouse or Nike's warehouse, as far as who's the closest and things like that. So the most common example is you already buy wholesale, you store stuff in your own warehouse or a 3PL or FBA or wherever. And then you also, if you run out of that, you bought a bunch in wholesale, it was a big sale, you had your warehouse, it's sold out, that drop shipper or the supplier you bought it from will also drop ship that product for you. Then you want to just overlap to them, right? And just switch over and say, I'm out of it in my warehouse, and then send it and start shipping out of them. That's the concept of product overlap. In most cases, that's what we see. There's some scenarios where your warehouse is down in Miami and your dropshipper's warehouse is in California, and you don't care if it's in your warehouse. If that customer bought it from California, you still want to go and source it and have your dropshipper just dropship it directly, right? Heavier items and things like that, that makes sense. So I'll talk more about that later, but that's the concept of product overlap. And when you're integrating feeds, look out for that. Do you envision having that at any point in time when you're evaluating a way to integrate feeds? Think about, does this allow me to kind of manage that overlap, or is this a point-to-point where it has no concept of two feeds kind of combining into one? And then only add non-warehouse items, right? In this step, I wouldn't worry about the overlap. I wouldn't worry about I would start in this way, but know that if you ever have to get to that point, you're going to need something to get to that point. But this is the easier way to start if you don't have these complexities, as I just mentioned. So from there, you're still kind of like, so let's say you've got step 1 and step 2 down, right? You're emailing orders in automatically, so you're getting them in as quick as possible. You've got a feed file, so this means, or you're connecting with like a FlexPoint directly to the store, so you feel confident it's in stock. So you reduce cancels significantly. That's kind of the 80-20 of it right there, right? You've got orders going in quick, you've got accurate data and accurate inventory quantities. You're good. You're still missing the tracking information back up. You're still missing a couple other pieces to fully automate it. You still have, when you manually send or when you automatically send an email, there's still someone manually on the supplier side processing it. So this step 3 is really kind of, I think I said the holy grail of kind of the simple dropship automation. It really is like, if you can get to this point, you're pretty good. It's a good kind of like stopping point and saying, all right, I'm in a good spot. How do I really want to optimize from here? But this is where you get to the point of actually integrating with your suppliers via API or EDI. So a lot of times your supplier, one, will provide you a file and say, this file is updated every day or every hour or whatever. They're not the most tech savvy supplier, right? They're good at manufacturing, they're good at branding, whatever. They don't have sophisticated, they have a file and it's updated every hour. They don't know how to get updated every, as quick as like an API. But maybe they brought on a team, they now have an EDI team, or they have, like I said, they have their website updated constantly, because that's simple enough to keep updated. They don't need to be tech savvy to do that. And so you have another option. The feed file, I see this time and time again, is updated every 4 hours, every day, whatever. But then they have an API option where they're connecting directly to their store, or they have an EDI spec that you can integrate, or an EDI team, right? Or maybe even EDI or API docs. That might get you real-time information, because if it's a hot selling item, if it's Black Friday, if it's whatever, you still want to have you still want to have as much kind of peace of mind to make sure that those orders are going in and not getting canceled. So with that in mind, you can integrate via, I have these like SFTP, AS2 VAN. That's just kind of technical terms for, how you would integrate via EDI. A quick lesson, we'll just spend like 20 seconds on it just for people. If you don't know these terms, it's always good. And you can talk the talk with your suppliers. If you want to start kind of seeing if you can drop ship via EDI with them, which a lot of them do. An 850 is a purchase order, right? And so you can avoid the manual entry. You can probably get your order in even quicker for all the other guys that are going to be emailing those PDFs in. If you can figure out, and they allow you to start doing EDI integrations with them, you'll be the first in line to get that order, right? So an 850 is a purchase order. You can kind of talk and, because not all of them are going to approve you, right? If they think it's going to be a major project and things like that, they might say, hey, send us those in via email. You're not approved, you're not doing a high enough order volume, or you don't have the right technical aptitude or the right partner like a FlexPoint to help you do this. So it's good to know these terms. So 850 is the purchase order. The 856 is the automated shipment tracking, right? That's the doc, the EDI term doc for coming back and actually syncing the tracking back up. I think it's called like, an ASN, right? Advanced shipping notice. Invoice is 810. So we'll talk more about the accounting integrations and things like that. And then inventory advice, that's the equivalent of that feed file I showed earlier. It's an inventory feed essentially. A little bit different in that, like that one's limited to, I think, just quantity. It's like SKU and quantity, where a feed file could be like a product data feed file that has quantity, cost, titles, descriptions, where this is a little bit more limited and structured in the EDI terms. So you get this going, it's great. The big struggle here is like, one, can your supplier support it? Two, what's the investment of getting it set up? That's where you look for partners and software to help you. Okay, so that's good. If you don't have any product overlap and you don't sell on multiple channels, you have a fairly simple structure. Those 3 steps will pretty much get you there where you've got a fairly automated business. If you want to kind of level up and start optimizing your business, like I said, stocking stuff in your own warehouse, but then having an overflow drop ship option, which helps for a lot of reasons. One, for the California versus Florida example I just brought it up, but also making sure that you're not out of stock. I mean, Amazon will reward those that know that you're always able to be in stock. If you're out of stock, that's another ding on your account. So, you might not want to buy hundreds and thousands of a certain SKU, but you want to be able to sell on Amazon. Having that overflow allows you to be a better Amazon seller and therefore kind of drive more revenue. So with that, that's where you get into rules-based order routing. You've got multiple locations that fulfill the same product for the reasons I just mentioned. What you need to think about here is it requires mapping of products from multiple source locations, right? So that mapping is, you're not going to find a lot of Shopify apps like the $29, $99 apps that help you kind of map these to multiple locations and allow you to kind of, determine the best, the cheapest, the most preferred order routing for all the complexity that comes into that. And really kind of automate that process because it gets fairly complex. And that's really why we built FlexPoint. And that's why we see most people switch from like a basic application that they found in the App Store to a more full, like automated distributed order automation system, order management system, like FlexPoint. So just something to think about. That's really where you start leveling up and becoming an elite seller on Amazon, is when you start doing rules-based order routing and have product overlap across multiple locations. And then while you're at it, might as well just keep going, right? So you've got your fulfillment figured out. You got your automation of inventory and orders. You've got all that, the back end fulfillment, your back office, as a lot of people call it, figured out. Let's figure out how to sell more then, and sell in more locations and optimize that. And so, like I said, and we saw someone ask about earlier, you're selling US, figure out how to sell in the UK, or figure out how to sell, in Amazon in another location, or how to get eBay going, Walmart going, start your own Shopify store, little niche Shopify stores, whatever it might be. You're not going to always, you can just start by just kind of duplicating and replicating these products up to them. But if you really want to optimize this, in a lot of cases, you don't feel comfortable selling the same products on Amazon and Shopify. A scenario I've seen is I have this one drop shipper that I love their products. It's great for my brand, but they have a 5 to 7 day lead time, right? I want to be able to sell this, and I've got an audience already on my newsletter or my Shopify branded store, whatever. I want to sell these products, and I want to be able to integrate them into our system to automate the purchase order process and the inventory syncing, but I don't want to sell them on Amazon, but I want to sell all of them on Shopify. That we see that all the time. You need that multi-channel kind of listing management, right? Rules-based listing. If it's this brand or if it's from this supplier, list it up here. Don't list it there, right? So doing that. Amazon has fees. Your Shopify store might not have as many fees, right? So maybe I sell the exact same products across all channels, but I want to mark them up off a certain percentage of the cost, or add an additional percentage based on what I know my fees are going to be, and change the pricing differently. And there's multitude of different reasons of why you'd want to change the pricing on Amazon opposed to your Shopify store as well. All the stuff Amazon does with their algorithm, searching across that same product on websites. So a lot of reasons to do what we call multi-channel management, right? Which you've all heard. But it's, basically rule-based is kind of how you get there and how you automate it, right? Creating rules. So that's, I guess that's what we're talking about, right? Automation. So you can do all these things. You can manually put all these things, but you need a system that has a rule-based kind of automation workflow system, like a FlexPoint, that would be able to get it up there. So yeah. And then lastly, keep inventory in sync. Just to kind of recap, keep inventory in sync across multiple channels, list certain products in certain channels, list products at different prices. And then also lastly, I missed this one, change titles, image descriptions, categories. That needs to be done on, Amazon and eBay have different ways of, different category taxonomy structures, right? Being able to manage that in one location and make sense of it allows you to, list more products at the end of the day. Cool. Looks like we're going on timing. Just a couple more slides here. And then, yeah, this is really kind of getting towards the end of like true automation, right? And so we've got all this going. We're doing all this sophisticated stuff. We're managing it easily with one central kind of order management system, automation platform. Now the big thing is really getting these supplier invoices in. This is one of the more difficult ones. Almost always I see they're either a download from a website, or they are an email of a PDF, or sometimes they're CSVs, which is nice. You really want to think about, how do I get these in so I can really just reconcile and get the profitability of each one of these orders. The other option is, if you have a good relationship with your vendor, you can agree on kind of a percentage. You can set up a percentage in like a FlexPoint or a marketplace system, and then it's automatically generate the invoice. So if they're not willing to give you an invoice, but they agree that everything you send them is going to be a certain percentage, or if you have an agreed upon cost, there's ways of automatically generating that invoice as well. So that's the more difficult one, as far as like working with your supplier, understanding how you can get to a proper invoice and how you can automate it. But there's things like our system where you can get that PDF off an email, automatically convert it, automatically bring it in. There's options, right? So once you're able to do that, this gives you a lot of value in kind of running your business, and you can check the profitability. You can optimize on how you're sending orders to who, and when you're sending orders to certain vendors, when you're not. You can look across the best, most profitable channels, all that kind of stuff, right? So reporting on profitability is huge, as we all know, as online retailers. You can do COGS checks, right? So make sure that you are sending a PO essentially when you get an order and you send a dropship order to a dropship supplier. That is essentially a purchase order. It's just for one item based on customer sale. When they actually invoice you for that, you want to have the ability to automatically check, is this what I thought? I thought I was going to buy it. I sold it for $10. I thought I was going to buy it for $5. They just sent me an invoice for $6. So they overcharged me by $1. FlexPoint has an alert system that will alert you and say, if they overcharge you by $1 on this. So little things like that is how you truly automate, because we're getting into high volume kind of PO to invoice reconciliation. You need to automate that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, the big thing too is your FRs. This is kind of an internal term you see in different e-commerce software, but like a fulfillment request, right? Fulfillment request is I have an order, a channel order from a consumer or whoever. I need to fulfill it somehow. I fulfill it either via purchase order to a dropship supplier, or I just fulfill it via fulfillment request from my own warehouse, right? You're not purchasing anything. You already own the item. So your fulfillment requests, right? Where you're not drop shipping, you probably bought that in bulk for those, those Nike socks were $4. Yeah, maybe less than that. They're for a pack. They were $4 a pack, wholesale. But if you drop ship it, it was $6 a pack, right? And so thinking about that, you want to make sure that you can look at how they differ and really analyze, the profitability across your internal versus external sources. And that's putting all that together is true automation. That all 6 of those steps, it's really 6 steps. I should rename this, but it's 6 steps. The 7th step is having all of those together to have the multi-channel. As you can see here, you've got different listing prices, different categories for each channel. You've got different SKUs across different suppliers. You've got average profitability from this supplier versus average profitability on that supplier. You're able to do a fulfillment rate report, a return rate, a cancel rate per supplier. You're able to integrate across multiple different methods, right? Whether it's integrating via EDI, sending PDF emails, receiving PDF invoices, automatically translating them, getting CSV files, integrating via API. So, that's really where a lot of our customers, and some of them on this call right now, I recognize, are doing this today. They have this complex solution easily managed on a day-to-day basis with the help from the FlexPoint team and our platform. So that is where you get to true automation and really how you start scaling. Cool. All right. I think we've got 5. Ben had a great idea doing a promo. I can't let just Seller Candy give a promo and us kind of be the Grinch and not have anything ready for you. So we did want to give you the Seller Candy 500 promo. If you are not a customer of ours, you are considering FlexPoint, 500 off any annual or onboarding plan. This expires at the end of the month, but happy to do that. Really appreciate you joining the call and being here. So want to kind of give you some benefit for doing that. So thanks. All right. Nice. I'm going to jump into some questions.
Love it, Travis. I'm sorry I twisted your arm into giving a discount to the audience here.
No, man, it's always good. That was a good thought. I know you mentioned that you're in automation. Before I get into these questions, anything that poked out to you, Ben, that I could answer?
Yeah, well, I guess a couple of just comments. First off, just hearing the words EDI and SFTP and some of those others brought back some memories that I think I'd suppressed from when I would try to. I had a lot of suppliers that I was dealing with one of the companies I worked with, and we had various places we had to upload the POs by a certain time, and they were all really strict about it. So I'm having some flashbacks about it. I wish I had a solution or someone like you guys to walk me through some of that stuff. And then I know we ended up at that company I worked at, we ended up implementing a solution, and it was just so messy and clunky. It integrated our suppliers and put them all in a nice, good website, but it would break down all the time. It was not real time. A lot of times we get POs from customers on our website and then still have to go check to see if that item was actually in stock. And a lot of times it wasn't. So it was a mess. So I've been on the other side. So I just want to say to the audience, for anyone who does not have a solution like this, I felt that pain before. Not fun.
No doubt.
I would say
one coming in.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to just jump on this first one here, asking about how I can determine if my supplier can integrate. So that's the biggest question. One, you just got to have that conversation. If you're working with a company like us, we do have a team that will help have these conversations. At the end of the day, evaluating if you can integrate into a supplier systems like Ben was just mentioning, EDI can be a process, and it's really an agreed upon process between trading partners as they're referred to, right? You as the seller, the retailer, if you will, and then there's a supplier, right? So, or the supplier could be a wholesaler, a brand, a distributor. So it's an agreement between you guys to kind of work together. It's about having this conversation. Do they have something? Have they done it today? Right? That's the first step. Have they done it today? Do they drop ship currently? That's typically pretty easy. They probably had this request. You ask them, do you have a file of live inventory? Do you need one? We'll say, yes, we want to provide you live inventory. How do I place orders with you? They'll say, you can send us an email, or you can fill out our website. And then you can start getting to, well, do you have an API? Do you support EDI? And they may or may not say yes or no there. And then lastly, what we're seeing more and more of is well, what do you use? What do you use for I see you have a website. I see you're selling on your website from a B2C perspective, or you have a B2B portal that I log into. Is that on BigCommerce? Is that on Shopify? Is that on, WooCommerce, things like that, Magento? If so, you could use a system like us to just connect directly into that. place orders directly into their current workflow, make it easy on them, or pull inventory directly at minimum from that store as well. So they don't have to set anything up, because the moment you start asking them to do things, it might break down in the possibility of it happening. So yeah, that's always a big one. We're happy to help and drive those technical conversations for those that are less technical, who need that help.
Love it.
Cool. And I think that's time. I think we're right on time here.
Yeah. If anyone has any additional questions, Travis, is there a good way they can reach you directly? Or I don't know if you have anything you want to throw out there.
I'm happy. No, I'm happy to answer questions. I'll at least get them connected with the right person. I'm on LinkedIn. Travis Merrier, if I go back, I'm not sure anymore. But you can always email me at Travis@FlexPoint. The best thing to do if you really do have questions and want to kind of see the platform, dive into it, is go to flexpoint.com /demo, or just hit the talk to an expert button in the top, and we'll get someone in touch.
Love it. Good stuff. Well, yep. Thank you again for anyone who's watching now. And thanks for the attendees who've stayed all the way to the end. Really appreciate you guys and girls. And again, we'll make this publicly available, hopefully pretty soon after this as well. So you can always watch the replay. And Luis, if you're still here, get in touch with me so I can send you the slides as well. All right. I think that's it. So we'll go ahead and end. Travis, any parting words? Or I think we're all good.
No, I think we're good. Appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one. Happy holidays.